All right, welcome to this lesson. And in this lesson, we will be learning how to configure our MySQL dependency. So when we added that MySQL dependency to the class path, Spring Boot's auto configuration kicks in, but this is one of those instances where I told you that we have to add some configurations before it can actually work properly. So in order to do this, we will need to go back to that file that I told you about earlier in source main resources, known as application.properties. Click on this file. This file should be empty. And when you come in here, this is where we will set our configurations for the MySQL. So these configurations will include the database URL, the username of the user that we will be using for the database, the password for that user, and there are a couple of other configurations that we need to set. So we can start off with the URL. In order to do this, we need to type spring.datasource.url. Then you put equals. And then we're going to set the URL to our local host because this is where we will be running our application. So to do this, you write JDBC. This is the protocol that we're using. MySQL, this is the driver that we're using. Then you write // then you put localhost. And then you're going to do 3306 as the port. This is the default port that MySQL runs on. So if you didn't change your port, it should be 3306. This is the default port. So you do 3306 and then the name of our database. Remember when we set up that schema, we named our database ATW Airlines. So if you named your database a different name, then you would need to put that name here. So next we would need to put the username of the user that we will use for this database. So you would do spring.datasource.username, set equal, and then I will be using root for mine, and then you do spring.datasource.password, and I will be setting this later, but you would just type in your password there, and then we will set some other properties just to have some extra configurations set. I will explain them as we go. So you type in spring.jpa.show-sql and set that equal to true. What this does is it will print out the SQL as it's going to the database. So whenever our application makes an call to the database, then it will print that call out. And this helps with debugging and also just to see what's going on. In our case, that's really what we're going to be using it for. So you can actually see as things are happening in the background. Also, we can put the dialect spring.jpa.properties. Oh no. Spring.jpa.properties. All right. Hibernate.dialect. All right. And then we will put org.hibernate.dialect.MySQL 5 dialect. All right, this is just setting the Hibernate dialect, and this is something that's completely outside of the scope of this course. So just trust me that we need to set this. All right, with these configurations set, we are ready to run our application. So see you in the next lesson.